This is BRICS Global Television Network's weekly news roundup. We begin with the headlines. South Africa's government of national unity, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, has been sworn in. The European Union slaps huge tariffs onto imports of electric vehicles from China. 121 people killed in a stampede during a religious gathering in northern India. And Brazil to commemorate soccer legend Pelé on the 19th of November and have named it King Pelé Day. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. South Africa's new unity government, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, has been sworn in, marking a historic departure from the African National Congress's sole rule over the past 3 decades. 32 ministers drawn from 6 parties were inaugurated during a ceremony in Cape Town on Wednesday. Deputy President Paul Mashatile was the first to take the oath, reflecting the coalition's inclusive nature. Ramaphosa's government of national unity, formed after the ANC lost its parliamentary majority in May's elections, includes key figures from the former main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. The ANC retains 20 cabinet positions, crucially in areas like foreign affairs, finance, defence, justice and police. The DA will lead 6 ministries, with its leader John Steenhuisen appointed as the agriculture minister. The new government, featuring 14 female ministers and 18 female deputy ministers, signals a pragmatic shift towards the centre-right, aiming to address governance challenges while fostering national cohesion amidst diverse party ideologies and public expectations. Our BGTN South Africa correspondent Ray White has more.
South Africa now has a government of national unity. What does this mean? Well, it's a compromise government. We've got the governing ANC, of course, having most of the cabinet positions, but then we've got the Democratic Alliance. They've got 6 cabinet positions and 6 deputy positions as well. Also got the IFP being represented. We've got the Good Party. So it shows what's happened now. They brought all the parties together and they've come up with a government of national unity. It's a bigger cabinet than they've ever had before, but President Cyril Ramaphosa says it's needed now to drive the economy. Speaking of which, looking at the Rand has been boosted by this. Initially, before the elections, there was a bit of a problem because the Rand seemed to tank a little bit, and then thereafter, as negotiations took place. But now things are totally different and the Rand has improved. They need to get down to brass tacks now, get down to work. I mean, looking now at the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition being at the center of this. And what this means is they have to drive growth in South Africa. They have to drive Transnet, that's the rail network. They have to drive Eskom as well, electricity, to make sure that big business now strives and growth goes from above an estimated 1% to 2, 3 and even 4% in the next 10 years. Ray White, BGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Meanwhile, in Egypt, as the country battles through an economic crisis, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has inaugurated a new government for his 3rd 6-year term. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli leads the 30-member cabinet, which includes fresh faces in key ministries like finance, foreign affairs and defence. Notably, 4 women were among those sworn in during the televised ceremony. Ahmed Kuchuk, formerly a deputy finance minister, now heads the finance ministry, tasked with addressing Egypt's economic woes and currency shortages. The Egyptian pound is drastically depreciated, with inflation hitting a peak of 40% last year. Badr Abdel Ati succeeds Sameh Shoukry as foreign minister, and Abdel Majid Sakar replaces Mohamed Zaki as defence minister. The cabinet also encompasses ministers overseeing investments, foreign trade, oil, tourism and electricity. In India, 121 people have been killed in a stampede in the northern city of Hathras. Around 250,000 people had gathered for a sermon being given by self-styled Indian preacher Bole Baba. But tragedy unfolded when some of the devotees rushed to the exits. Most of those killed were women. Meanwhile, the preacher's not been seen since the stampede. with many saying he's retreated to his nearby monastery. His lawyers released a statement, though, saying Baba is not hiding away, but did not reveal his whereabouts. He's blamed antisocial elements in the crowd for the stampede and says Baba will cooperate with police in their investigations. Police have arrested 6 people so far, all of whom are members of the committee responsible for arranging the sermon. Authorities had granted permission for only 80,000 people to attend the sermon, more than 3 times the amount turned up for the event. To Brazil now, where satellite data released this week revealed that the Brazilian Amazon has experienced its worst 6-month period for wildfires in 2 decades, with 13,489 fires recorded from January to June. Now, this figure marks a more than 61% increase compared to the same period last year, attributed largely to a severe drought that affected the world's largest tropical rainforest in the previous year. Since the National Institute for Space Research began tracking in 1998, only 2 other years, 2003 and 2004, saw higher wildfire counts during the first half of the year, despite a 42% reduction in deforestation compared to 2023. President Luiz Lula da Silva faces mounting challenges as fires intensify in regions like the Pantanal and Cerrado, exacerbated by climate change and human activities like agricultural burning. Authorities in Mato Grosso have declared a state of emergency and mobilized firefighters ahead of the typically drier, more fire-prone months ahead. Hong Kong celebrating the legacy of design maestro Henry Steiner, whose iconic creations grace everything from major bank logos to the insignia of the city's renowned jockey club. Steiner's enduring designs adorn skyscrapers, housing global corporations, adorn shopping bags at local markets and luxury stores alike, and even feature on banknotes across the territory. Despite the omnipresence of his work, among Hong Kong's 7.5 million residents and countless visitors, few realize that these distinctive designs stem from the imagination of a single individual. Now 90 years old and a resident of Hong Kong since 1961, Steiner recently reflected on his illustrious career at an exhibition held in the city's M+ Museum. He describes Hong Kong as Asia's most vibrant and electrifying place, a sentiment undeterred by the city's evolving socio-political landscape. From his early days at Asia magazine to pioneering graphic design as a discipline in Hong Kong, Steiner's ability to capture the essence of businesses through visually compelling identities has left an indelible mark on the city's visual landscape. Coming up in just a bit, BRICS Plus Business News.
South African townships have had a significant influence on the sound of music. Townships, which were racially segregated areas during apartheid, were hubs of creativity and cultural expression.
You know, I wrote a simple love song which was called You're So Good To Me, and it suddenly became this enormous hit on Ukhozi FM, which is a Zulu vernacular station. There were state-owned stations in those days. Radio Zulu played isiZulu, Radio Xhosa played isiXhosa. This is how the state divided us. You know, what we heard was divided.
Frankly, you know, what I do is not about me. It doesn't belong to me. And I have complete control for it. So if it serves the interests of those who are all over the world, that would be my gift. The last.
Radio DJs have historically played a significant role in shaping the music industry and the sound of popular music.
I think bubblegum really found its footing and stuck to the ears of listeners in the 80s.
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
What was your moment in prison when you were like, I don't want to do this anymore?
I was 21 years old when I took my first life in prison. I had 1 star on my shoulder. By the age of 25, I became the first star general of the 28s, meaning that I had 4 stars on both my shoulders. I had taken 8 people's lives.
The European Union's imposed provisional tariffs reaching 38% on imports of Chinese electric cars, citing unfair state subsidies. Despite warnings from Beijing about potential trade conflicts, the EU's move follows a thorough investigation concluding that these subsidies unfairly disadvantage European electric vehicle manufacturers, transitioning from traditional to electronic technologies. The Chinese Chamber of Commerce to the EU's criticised the tariffs, labelling them as politically motivated and protectionist, yet expressing hope for resolution through dialogue. Germany, a significant player in EU-China trade relations, has voiced concerns that retaliatory measures could harm EU exports. The tariffs, effective immediately with definitive duties, pending approval by EU member states in November for a 5-year period, aim to address economic threats posed to the EU's electric car sector by subsidised Chinese competition. The EU intends to engage in intensive negotiations with China to seek a mutually acceptable solution while ensuring compliance with World Trade Organization regulations. Russia's central bank governor Elvira Nabiullina has acknowledged that inflation has exceeded expectations, hinting at a likely interest rate hike later this month. Since Russia initiated its military campaign in Ukraine in February 2022, prices have surged due to increased government spending on the military and defence industries. This surge, compounded by severe labour shortages across sectors, has fueled an inflationary cycle gripping the country over the past year. The central bank chief says the rate hike discussion would be on the agenda for July, with the magnitude of the increase being the primary focus. The current key interest rate stands at 16%, set after a series of hikes last year aimed at curbing inflation and stabilising the ruble's value. Despite these efforts, inflation in May was reported at 8.3% annually, well above the bank's 4% target. Nabiullina, a key economic figure under President Vladimir Putin, has been both praised domestically for stabilising Russia's economy amidst sanctions and criticised internationally. The proposed strike at Tata Steel's UK's Port Talbot Steelworks in Wales, originally due to kick off this coming week, has been halted as talks with management have resumed. Tata plans to begin closing its furnaces soon, part of a move towards greener production, with the first furnace to shut imminently and the second by the end of this year. Initially set for July the 8th, the indefinite strike by Unite trade union members protesting job cuts has been suspended following weekend negotiations. The pause comes after Tata signalled readiness to discuss broader investment prospects beyond layoffs in South Wales, including at Port Talbot. Unite's General Secretary Sharon Graham praised the development as pivotal for job security and the steel industry's future in the region, crediting members for their resolve. Tata's overhaul, involving the closure of high-emission facilities, aligns with efforts to modernise amid challenges in Europe's steel sector, aiming for lower carbon footprints. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says he hopes to secure approximately $10.5 billion in financial aid in the coming years, following negotiations with international lending institutions. The aid aims to support Ethiopia, which has faced challenges including armed conflicts, the COVID-19 pandemic and climate crises. Ethiopia has been engaged in protracted talks with the International Monetary Fund to finalise a support program which may involve devaluing the country's birr, Ethiopia's currency. We've been negotiating with the IMF and World Bank on various issues, Abiy stated in a parliamentary address, noting the persistence and progress made in discussions. Sources suggest the current IMF program under negotiation involves about $3.5 billion with potential parallel assistance from the World Bank. Ethiopia, burdened by around $28 billion in external debt, also faces challenges including high inflation and depleted foreign currency reserves. And in South Africa, there's a constant battle between law enforcement officials and hawkers. There are many people who have turned to selling goods on the side of the road to make money just to survive. But the cops are on the prowl, looking for individuals who sell goods without permits. And if you're caught without the correct documentation, your goods are confiscated. BGTN South Africa correspondent Inga Mzileni reports.
Hawkers are sometimes considered a nuisance by city municipality and big business, but this is their simple way to earn a living.
10 years ago was good. Things is moving fine. But recently, like 7 years now, it's very difficult to survive in the streets. It's not easy. Because, things are no more moving like before.
More than 750,000 street traders or hawkers offer nutritious food to poor residents. Researchers from the Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies told government in a webinar hosted in 2021. Yet street traders are treated as a nuisance by the municipality and big corporations. But this informal business has helped feed families and pay for children's education.
We are struggling. People come here to dump their old stuff. We salvage it, to resell, to make a living. I lost a lot of money from stock that was confiscated by the police. First I thought, well, we will salvage old stuff from dumps for a while, but I never recovered. This has become my only way to make ends meet.
The municipality is not the only problem for hawkers. Tensions between informal traders and store owners exists, with the latter considering the former an unfair competition. The police argue that hawkers do not have the necessary documents to sell goods on the streets. So what can I get for 10 rand? For 10 rand I can get this ornament. Like this man explained to us that it's not easy to get a hawking license to sell second-hand stuff like this one. For an immigrant in South Africa with no job, this became the only source of living. Some of the stuff that they sell along the road is salvaged from this pick-it-up dumping site behind me. Inga Mzileni, BGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Coming up in just a bit, BRICS Plus Sports News.
Only on BGTN.
I have no idea who this guy is. Absolutely no idea. He's not me. I am Ray White. This guy, is a deep fake.
So, as you can see, the BRICS nations have done very well with space exploration. Boldly going where no man has gone before. Gosh, it's lovely being in space, isn't it?
Catch me, Ray White, on Building Business One Brick at a Time, your BGTN business show that'll keep you in the know about what's happening in the world of business across BRICS, right here on BGTN.
Well, here we have it. Time to turn things around. You caught the taxi and watched the money drain out of your account. Now we're going to pay you if you are lucky enough to catch our taxi. Small problem. You've got to know a few things about bricks. No, not the stuff you build your house with. Welcome to the Bricks on Wheels show.
Saudi Sports Ministry's announced plans to privatise 4 additional Saudi Pro League football clubs following last year's sale of 4 top teams that triggered a $1 billion spending spree on international players. According to a statement released on Wednesday, Al Uqdud, Al Uruba and Al Khulud will be available for privatisation in August alongside 3 clubs from lower divisions. Later stages will include Pro League outfit Al Riyadh and 7 other lower division clubs, totalling 14 teams, transitioning to private ownership. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, the PIF, had acquired majority stakes in Al Hilal, Al Nasser and Al Ahli and Al Ittihad last year, resulting in high-profile signings like Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar. This move propelled Saudi clubs, especially those under PIF ownership, to spend $957 million during last year's transfer window, second only to the English Premier League. The ministry highlighted the club's operational readiness, financial health, administrative capabilities and athletic facilities as criteria for selection in this privatisation phase. The initial privatisation initiatives boosted commercial revenue for the Pro League with a new target of 1.8 billion Saudi riyals. That's around $480 million annually. Brazil's officially designated King Pelé Day to honour the football legend Pelé, widely regarded as the greatest footballer of all time. Pelé achieved extraordinary feats, including winning 3 World Cups and scoring over 1,000 goals in his career. The commemorative day, scheduled for November the 19th, commemorates the momentous occasion in 1969 when Pelé scored his 1,000th goal for Santos at Rio de Janeiro's Maracanã Stadium. The milestone sparked jubilant celebrations, briefly pausing the match as fans swarmed the field. Pelé dedicated this historic goal to underprivileged Brazilian children. His legacy continued with another World Cup triumph in 1970. Pelé's passing on December the 29th in 2022, age 82, prompted a nationwide period of mourning. The law creating the commemorative date has been promulgated by President Luiz Lula da Silva. India's triumphant T20 World Cup teams received a jubilant welcome in New Delhi, cheered by ecstatic crowds and praised by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at a reception. Modi greeted them at his residence, where they proudly displayed their champions' jerseys and trophy. The evening saw them parading through Mumbai on an open-top bus, greeted by thousands along the seafront and at Wankhede Stadium. Emotional fans recalling past victories described the moment as surreal and unforgettable. Despite rains, fans gathered eagerly, awaiting their heroes, who emerged with gold medals and enthusiastic gestures. The victory ended India's 11-year wait for a global cricket trophy, marking a milestone under coach Rahul Dravid, with retirements announced by Rohit, Kohli and Jadeja from T20 international cricket. And Dubai-based Rose are gearing up for an Arctic expedition to raise awareness about marine pollution, undergoing rigorous training, simulated storms and harsh conditions. Led by Toby Gregory, they'll depart from the UAE's heat to Tromsø in Norway en route to Longyearbyen in Svalbard, amidst the Arctic's accelerated warming due to climate change. Inspired by witnessing ocean plastic during a 2023 Atlantic Row, Gregory launched the Plastic Pledge to educate global students about responsible plastic use. Their Arctic challenge spans 1,500 kilometers in an 8-meter solar-powered boat. Partnered with the UN Environment Programme Clean Seas Initiative, their journey aims for historic milestones. The first 3-person Arctic rowing team and Oleg Dempsey as the pioneering woman in this endeavour. Despite Dubai's climate, they prepare for Arctic temperatures ranging from 0 to 10 degrees Celsius, emphasising proactive environmental stewardship amid global challenges.
The Art of Africa goes jazz. South Africa has given rise to a number of jazz artists, from trumpeter Hugh Masekela to pianist Abdullah Ibrahim and vocalist Gloria Bosman and Sibongile Khumalo. Their uniquely South African strain of jazz has become an essential thread in the international jazz fabric. The latest torchbearer of that sound is Nduduzo Makhathini, a pianist and composer whose albums have made him a leading voice in African jazz. Not only is he a jazz artist, but Makhathini embodies the roles of teacher and historian.
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
I remember being in the stadium, going into the stadium, and then there were kids outside asking for our autograph and things like that. And they really believed that we were these superhuman characters, that we just used the wheelchair to get around, hidden superpowers kind of thing. And the stadium in London was sold out every single day. I mean, for that, it I think was both for the athlete and for people around the world said, you know, this is actually something worth watching. This is something, you know, that's worthwhile. We can take note of it.
And finally, in Shanghai, China, the Bass Bath Party has brought together deaf and hearing clubbers in a celebration marked by pulsating bass rhythms and sign language communication for orders. Organised to foster unity through music and non-verbal interaction, the event plays an important role in breaking down barriers and promoting mutual understanding between communities. This event, a rarity in China's nightlife, showcases animated art and music videos, incorporating sign language, complemented by posters teaching Chinese sign language symbols like dream and dance. Deaf dancers demonstrated their prowess, while DJs played bass-driven tracks felt as vibrations. Interactive games linked dance moves with signed words, enriching the festive vibe. Organisers say the event's broader impact is that of fostering inclusivity and bridging societal divides with the aim of forging genuine connections across diverse abilities. And that's your BRICS Global Television Weekly Roundup. For daily updates, check out our website and social media. I'll be back again next week with more BRICS Plus news updates.